I have no idea what's going on right now.
What is that?
I don't know. No, I'm kidding. It's just the like a track that we have here on Zencaster. Hey everybody, and welcome to a little extra bonus of American Groove here for you today. Well, I didn't have any interviews the week that I'm going away on vacation, so we decided we're going to bring Chris along, and we're going to have some fucking fun with whatever's left of my joint.
I have an old joint here too that I could spark up, but I probably won't enjoy that. So I was kind of like gonna roll another joint was the plan.
I am so tempted to put that music back on.
Do it again. Have they heard it yet?
Wait.
What is that?
I don't know.
Where did it come from?
Well, it just popped up here. Okay, this is so random.
What other options do you have? Do you got more?
That's it. Well, there's more, but that was
what
just
else
like
is
one
there?
of the.
What does it say?
Well, you can add more. I mean, I can add more if I wanted to.
I'm like, tell me.
Tell me more.
What other weird sounds can we have?
But yes, everybody, welcome to American Groove. I'm your host, Dave, and this is our beautiful, fantastic, and a pizza T-shirt right now.
It's a Chinese pizza T-shirt.
Ayo.
Yeah, I wanted to look fun. I was like I went and I did an interview today because I'm poor, and
I love that.
I looked fancy, and I was like,
expensive.
I don't want to look fancy on the podcast because it's just I want to look fun. The podcast is for fun. Podcast is where I have fun. I need a podcast this week because I need to have some fucking fun. It has been a hard week. The state of California doesn't think that I qualify for health insurance anymore, which is very upsetting. And yeah, I'm an injured individual who will soon have no health insurance. The state of California also thinks that I no longer qualify for food stamps, which nothing's changed. So what changed? But anyways, it has been a hard ass week, dude. Like I'm okay. I'm okay. I think
for
that
the most part.
I think I can turn it around, but it's been one of the harder weeks that I've had in a couple years, to be honest. It's been really hard.
It's kind of odd because when you're put in that position, see, for people that are financially stable, I have no idea what financially stable is. I've never been financially stable ever. You have. Yeah. You've been financially stable. And we've talked about this. We've talked about like you being financial. Is that Louis? What's he doing? What's little Louis doing?
What do you think? Here, you can talk, and I'll just turn off my mic while he does what he's doing. Here, go ahead.
The thing about it is for you is when you're financially stable for most part of your life, and then you go back to a position where you're not financially stable, that can be really difficult because you're used to living a certain way. You're used to a certain lifestyle. You're used to a certain way of how things are. Like for me, I've never experienced that before. I have always had where I've had to work paycheck to paycheck. So because I've always had to work paycheck to paycheck, I don't really have an understanding of like what it is to know that your bills will get paid. Like you have enough money in your account to do other things, to invest in apartments like real estate, make frivolous purchases like on hobbies. I have zero understanding of that. Does that make me a less of a person? No, it's just I've never experienced that before. So it's strange, and it's like odd that there's like this one thing about us as humans that is completely like normal for one group of people, but then for another group of people is completely like non-existent. Like there's no understanding of it.
I've had both.
Right.
So I've had friends that have been in both situations. So I think I do understand what it's like for me and what it's like for other people. Louis is chewing on a water bottle. That's what that is. But having been both financially stable and, struggling to the point where I'm just crying out of frustration and fear, that range is pretty broad. Having done
It
both,
is.
I would say it's not. When I was financially stable, I had a lot going on. It took me a lot of work um to be financially stable. Like I was working a lot. The hours that I was putting in were really 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 long, like all week long. And so I was very busy. Anytime that I had um I would plan something for myself to do because I really didn't have any. I didn't have a lot of time. I would just come home and then I'd go right back to work. So I spent a lot of time working while I was financially stable. So I didn't exactly get to like enjoy a lot of it, but then I would plan things that I could enjoy while I was really busy. There's no. Everybody's different. Everybody deals with different stuff. Um, I think that I used to make as much money as it takes me a whole week to make. I used to make that much money in a day. Um, and years have passed, and inflation has happened. Um, and I don't know if the economy just used to be better and there were more better paying jobs or what the difference is. But from my experience, what I see is that I have to do more work now for less money, um,
What I
which
heard
is hard.
what I heard from somebody that worked and was alive in the 1970s, and when you compare it, and I'm using this as an example, people that were around that period, they were making less money, but things were more affordable. Things cost less.
Yeah,
So
I know.
if you were making, $1.75 an hour in 1978, that wasn't bad. If you're making $3 in 1985, that wasn't bad either. Like $3 was not a lot of money, but you could survive. The tables have kind of twisted now. Now it's where you make more money, but everything's more expensive. So you're spending more for the same things.
Only I make less money. Like, I think that what's happening is like it's harder to make a decent living without some type of degree or specialty. It's very very difficult to survive just doing like part-time jobs, things that aren't like, from a specific college degree or some type of trade. I mean, what I was going to say is like when I was financially stable, I created a business. I created my own small business. I had a lot of
Velvet
time.
Earth Shop.
Yeah, my candles. I got to be like a creator. I got to spend a lot of time on things that I found interesting and stuff that I was passionate about, and I did like, research things that I liked and learn about stuff. And I feel like I was in this like very productive lifestyle because I was like working constantly and making money. And so I think that everything else was kind of already vibrating like in that frequency. So when I would create new things, they were introduced into the environment that I was in. It was a good environment for something to like get rolling. I knew a lot of people. Um, I had like a work family, more or less. And I had completed my dreams. That was what I wanted. I wanted to have that job and be there. And I'm still not over having lost it. It's been, I think, 4 or 5 years now since I've had that job, and it'll always be super dear to my heart. And I mean, my therapist explained to me that what happened with losing that job was traumatizing. Like it genuinely created trauma in me to lose that job. And I went through a lot. Um, Realizing that I couldn't get that stability back. And I tried really hard. I applied to like a million different things to try and get that type of stability back into my life, that financial stability. And I have the only time that I was ever able to accomplish that financial stability again since then was when I worked so hard that I tore or destroyed the inside of my tendons in my shoulder from working that hard because I didn't have a choice but to do it or not have enough money. So, I mean, that's why I am where I am right now, is that I don't have enough money because of the shoulder injury, and so the job I do you see now the job was very vital, um, and that's why I worked it so much until my shoulder was destroyed,
I mean,
and no one listened to me.
I had a very similar situation. I had a knee injury beginning of March, and that came from overworking and the constant stress with my job, and I'm still recovering from it.
Yours didn't
And
happen at work though.
mine didn't happen at work. The thing it limited me where I wasn't able to focus on school, so I had to hold that off.
Well, yeah, your work wasn't, I mean, as far as I feel, your work wasn't very understanding of your
No, they were
injury.
not. They were not. They were completely very ununderstanding, and I'm not allowed to say any of this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Um, and it's so hard to it's so hard because I'm in a sea of millions of other people. There are so many other people like me that do the same things that I'm doing, that feel the same ways. And I feel that we live in a society that treats us, I feel I'm treated as a machine. I am no different than an artificial intelligence program that was made by a computer. That's how I feel I'm being treated. And I'll be honest, it's very mentally depressing. It does. It traumatizes you because it creates this reality of like, well, I'm not good enough because I can't have this or I can't get that.
uh, yeah, I don't know. I've learned to, well, I can't say it completely, but I've learned not to always blame myself. Sometimes it is the other person or other things' fault,
Corporation
or
or
the stuff
business.
around me. I feel like, I don't know, me and my mom, like, I've been pretty upset, and I sometimes vent a lot to my mother and sometimes say things that I just have to get off of my chest, and they might not even be really like that, like, reasonable at the time or whatever, but like, I feel like recently I had just said, like, I don't know what to do. I have applied for a billion things, and it's like nobody wants me. And my schedule's not right. My, this, my that. Like, I interview weird. Like, yeah, I'm talkative. I'm particular. Like, it's, I mean, I'm a great employee for something. And, that's why I apply for so many things, because, like, there's got to be something, right? And
It's weird because like when I apply, it's weird because like when I apply for things, I always get the jobs that I don't care for. I
yeah.
always, I never get to be able to make a living off of the things that I want to do. And I'm not trying to be, unrealistic. And I want to be realistic. I want to be able to view things from an actual, like, real perspective. But it still doesn't take away from the fact that that's how I feel. Like, I totally get that. Like, I feel like I can't be able to get what I want. I have to always get the shit and the grovel to be able to survive. Like, when is it gonna come like a point where I get to do what I want to fucking do? You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's when I get into these conversations with my parents, I get humbled rather quickly, cuz like my parents worked really fucking hard their whole lives, like just really really hard. And so, if I complain about things like that to them, they'll be like, "Yeah." They're like, "That's what you do." Well, yeah, your employer doesn't care about you. Like, duh. Like they're very just kind of like, okay, like that's what you do. And I tell you, it feels so fucking shitty to have your parent be like, yeah, it's terrible. That's what you do. And but it is like, I guess that type of lifestyle and work and stuff, like, I don't know. I mean, I was venting about how I'm not allowed to talk about the things that my boss does or the company or the people above me do. I'm not allowed to talk about the things that they do that affect me. I'm not allowed to talk
Right.
about it. And I was venting to my mom about how I'm not allowed to talk about it. Which is, I get to vent about how I'm not allowed to talk about it, right? Or am I not allowed to talk about that either? I don't know. Is that talking about it? I think it is.
Well, like, it's strange because I told you this. My experience with my parents is well, parent. I only have one that's living. My mom's reaction is like this. My mom will be like, "Can you send me over money?" And I'm like, "I don't have any money." And her immediate response would be like, "Well, why not?" And I would be
They
like,
don't get it.
and I'm like, "Well, because I have to work paycheck to paycheck." And she's like, "Well, that bothers me. I don't like hearing that." And I'm like, "Well, I'm sorry. That is reality. That is the reality of my life. My mom cannot handle reality. Like, she cannot handle the realistic expectations that is at hand. And I'm not giving her shit. It's just some parents like yours are like, yeah, that's the world. Then there's like mine that are like, I don't understand. I raised you. What's the problem over here? Like, you're doing something wrong. Like, that's my mom's reaction always. And it bothers the fuck out of me.
Mm. Yeah, it's okay.
I gotten used to it, but it still bothers the fuck out of me.
Yeah. I've gotten used to it too. I wish sometimes that I realize sometimes why I get as frustrated as I do, cuz like she taught me like good qualities, things that are important, good values, different stuff like that. And she believes that because I have these same values as she does, that I'm going to do just fine in the world. And I'm like, okay, yeah. I mean, I think that those things are really important too. Like, I agree with you. And yes, it's true. Like, all these wonderful things that you say, that's very nice. And it's true and stuff. And I think that they should be as important to other people too. But these people don't really truly care about qualities of good moral value. Like, they don't care about those kinds of things. Like, you'd be surprised, like, I mean, like, for instance, like hiring somebody who's honest. How are you supposed to tell? Like, when you hire someone, like, okay, I'm an honest person. Like, so when they put together 10 people, they interview them. There's no way to know that, like, during an interview. So you tell me how being an honest person is going to help me get a job.
I gotta I'm gonna make things interesting. Might piss off a few people. That's all right. Imagine hiring somebody because you think they're Hispanic or Latin. You hire them for that reason. You can't ask the person because that's racist. I mean, that might come off as a racist question. I mean, depending on how you word it. But if you hire a person for that reason, you don't know they're Hispanic. They might be Middle Eastern for all you know. They might be from Asia. There are a lot of Asian people
Well,
that
you're not
look
supposed to
Latin.
hire anybody because they're
Exactly.
Hispanic.
And you're not supposed to hire anybody just for the sheer reason because they're honest. You hire a person because they fit the job description that entails, that you feel that they would be a perfect and a right fit to work for your business. Because the thing is, this whole conversation is financial stability, right? Here's the reality: if you want to be financially stable and you're running a business, if you're just hiring people because they're fucking Latin and they're honest, I'm gonna be honest with you, you're gonna be fucking broke and bankrupt by year two. It's not the way of how you hire people. It's just not. It's not real. There's no like anything backing it.
I know, and I just wanted to say, like, yeah, you taught me to be like a really nice, caring, genuine person, and I wouldn't take that away for anything. And I think that that's way more important too. And I have noticed in the past where other people who don't care about other people as much actually do better in the workforce than I do. Now, I mean, I'm not, my loyalty isn't like out of this world. Like my loyalty is good, but like I can think of like times where I've made mistakes out of just like a mistake. Like I I told you about that makeup artist that like, and she, I just don't think it's right that she never understood me. But like she was somebody that I like would get me a lot of work. And I looked up to her a lot and she got me a lot of work. And she got me a job and I ended up like making that job like a long-term job. That was my job. And she was apparently bothered that I never asked her to come there. Um but she had never told me that it bothered her that I never asked her to come there.
Yeah, it sounds like
Um
Meg. It's something exactly what I would do. It's literally me to a T. Go on.
but she never fucking told me. And I mean, maybe I like should have known, but the fact that she didn't tell me made me think that it genuinely didn't bother her. Plus, like, she has more work than I would ever have. Why would she need me to call her? Like, I don't even understand it. But, like, I was also just, like, worried that she would, like, come take my job. Cause, like, you know, she gets jobs that are better than me and she's more experienced to the point where she gives me work. So, like, she could take any job from me. And it was like, you already have your job. Like, I don't even really know why she's, like, upset that she needs to have mine too, or like have the access to it or whatever. But like, I don't know. I just, when I lost my job, I messaged her and I was like, because I didn't know any of this. And I was like, hey, like, I got fired. Like, it'd be really nice to work with you again. Like, you know, sorry, it's been a while or whatever. And she's like, you never once called me. And was like, you know, just like really mean. And I had just gotten fired. It's like, do you want to be mean to me? Like, when I'm like going through that? And then significantly went out of her way to make sure that I would never get any work from her ever again. And I just felt like it was like really like not understanding at all. Like I explained everything to her. Like I was like, well, I was kind of worried about my job and you know, and like I mean, as you can see, we all got laid off, so like I was worried about it. I don't know. I
We
just
going back to what I said earlier, we live in a society that has raised us, including myself, that we are the worker bees. You know, that we go out, we get a degree, we do this, and become financially stable, and you build a family, and it's so on. You know, when you have these people that expect like this respect because they deserve it, because it's coming to them. Okay, you want to understand her perspective. I can understand that you didn't contact her for a long time. Maybe that I can understand from her side. But
I
at
can
this
too. It's just
but
like
at the same time though, right? I just feel that there needs to be like more of an understanding, like the way that she'd address and say, "Hey, like this bothers me, and this is how it makes me feel," instead of being like, "You da 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 da, and you didn't da 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 da, you didn't do this, and you didn't do that, and how dare you? And I'm going to make sure you never get a job from me again." That's just spiteful. That's very
it,
spiteful.
it was like, I mean, it's not like we had like a loving friendship or anything, back when we used to talk more, but like I just didn't expect. I don't know. It just fucking sucked. So that's where I would say, like, I believe that my loyalty is like really good, but like that's like one example of where like I fucked up with like out really without knowing, but like I did it out of fear. Like I was worried that this chick was going to come take my job. And like rightfully I should be afraid of her because she's not nice to me. Like look at how she treated me when I was like down and out. Like I'm sorry, but when people are down and out and they come to me and they say I'm sorry, I do pay attention. I mean, I apologize to her. I said like I'm sorry, that wasn't right of me. I wish that I'd have handled it better. It wouldn't make a fucking difference to her that I said I was sorry. And
No,
it's just I don't know. I it icks me out, and that's kind of I got a little just fed up with the film industry in general because of this whole like I've got control over like your job kind of thing that happens in the film industry where there's like these people you got to kiss their ass to like
this
get
is
you jobs
why
and
this is why independent artists, it's a hard road. Thankfully, I'm very grateful. I've had quite a few of them on the podcast for interviews, such as Mayday Muse and Juju Andon. But it's a road that really shows how creativity can be taken to the next level. The example being like Juju taking back the idea of creating rap back to poetry. When you it's so hard. It's so hard when you have this conglomerate, these corporations that are controlling the sound, the words, the artistry, the makeup, the designs, the stories that are being told, all for profit. I mean, you have these people that are not artists. These are corporate executives. They've never drawn or understood what art is in their entire life. I get it. You're a director of a bunch of makeup artists. I get it. You are a film director and you handle entire production crew, but that doesn't make you an artist. It doesn't.
no, it's yeah, I mean a lot of the time as an artist you end up working for people that aren't
Yes.
artists. They're people who manage people. I had never experienced that until I got out of beauty school and I got my first job, and I ran into a situation where I don't know if I had like a disagreement with a client or something, or if like I was like scheduling something and she didn't understand, like the manager didn't understand like how it was supposed to be scheduled. She doesn't understand aesthetics. She doesn't understand makeup or waxing or anything. She's just a manager. And I don't know that they'd ever really had somebody that did waxing there. I think I was like the first one. And so
It's a common
when
thing. That's a common thing, by the way, because some states have a law, like Florida, where you don't have to have a license to open up a shop. So you can have people that have no experience with nails or waxing or facials, pedicures, manicures, and they open up a salon. And it's completely legal in a lot of states in the US.
well it was yeah, they do it in California. It was very frustrating because like she didn't have any background or training in what I had, learned to do. So I had to like sit there and explain to her like why I was doing things the way that I was and stuff like that. And I mean, I think that what was actually more frustrating about it was that they treated me like a young person, which I was a young person, but there was like a I wasn't treated like I knew what I needed to know about my profession, which I did because I had graduated at that time and had made it through, my program. So I did know, regardless of my age, I knew how to do things correctly. But for them, all they really saw was my age and that, they had this much experience and they just want me to do things their way. It was kind of,
It's really
uh,
it's kind of just the spark of reality. It's kind of just the hit of, if you want to be successful by your rules, you have to do things yourself. And in order to do that, it does take a lot of work, takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of money. So there are different steps you can do to get yourself there. It takes a long time, right? Sometimes you stay on that platform, sometimes you fall, unfortunately, and you pick yourself back up where you last left off. Um I it's I like, you can't run away from it. Working for people sucks. Okay, I hate working for corporate. I fucking hate it. I hate every fucking week that I have to go to that fucking office. I do it because I have to make a living. And am I gonna be one of those people like, oh man, poor me? No, I went to school. I finished and got my degrees, and I'm trying to figure out on doing something else so I can work more independently.
hmm.
It's No one's gonna fix your situation. Like, it's gonna be shit from the beginning, but like you said, hard work is not going to make you successful. What's going to make you successful is yourself. If you're willing to get yourself out of that situation and you have the work and the time and you got a plan.
Yeah, I have a whole bunch of negative things from my past that happened that change how I feel about all this. Like,
I
and
know.
I've been burned a lot is what I would say.
Burned at the stake like a witch. We need sound effects. We're gonna pop them in here eventually. One day.
Turn on the music again.
Oh my god. It's so really? All right.
Yeah, just for a second.
It's got a good ring to it. I don't know.
Like, anyone who is listening, stop listening right now.
Um it's so random. It's just so random. It's just something random that we found, and being stoners, we have to click everything. It's basically, to go off topic for just a sec. When you go into a candy store, okay, and you got a kid that's 5 years old, you got a grown ass man that's 35, and he just smoked a motherfucking large joint. Honey, I'm talking about like Snoop Dogg thick. Girl, there's girth on that motherfucking joint. All right? This kid and this 35-year-old adult are both gonna go downtown on that motherfucking candy store, okay? They're both gonna rack up a motherfucking bill that's so goddamn big. They're gonna need 6 months' rent just to pay it.
Oh
But
my
you get
god.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, maybe other people feel this way too, but I often wonder if there's something that happened in my childhood that um makes me feel so incredibly panicked and terrified when I get kind of low on money. Not kind of, but like when I start to have nothing at all. And I wonder if a lot of it has to do with when I thought that my father was dying. And I feel that a lot of my like abandonment issues have to do with that, with my dad almost passing away when I was starting junior high. And I feel like that time was kind of, I wasn't doing very well in school. I feel like that's when I stopped like learning uh, about things that I, wasn't interested in. I stopped learning about anything other than what I wanted to
I've
at
come
that
to
point.
I've come to the realization, and I generally I'm not open about these things. It it wasn't until I would say this year that I got over the trauma of my dad's passing, and it's really odd because the thing that bothers me the most is I feel like in a way he would kind of be disappointed. You know how like I got myself into this financial pit, and why am I working hard enough to get myself to be financially stable?
You'd be surprised.
I know. You probably would think the opposite,
You never
but
know. Because,
it
like, I thought that my parents, and it bothers me a lot, I thought that my parents would be really upset about where I am. But, like, it's crazy. My parents will still say, like, I'm proud of you. And they've said it before. And I mean, I wonder what it would be like, if I'd never like started going to school. I mean, it's part of the reason that I started going to school was like to like redeem myself, like, because I can't figure out how to make my artist career support me. So that's where I was like, okay, like I'm gonna, you know, do something else, create
this is
stability.
this is why I love podcasting, because it's a great way of artists being able to share and interact and have a great time. And it doesn't have to. I mean, if this ever gets monetized, so be it. I don't fucking care. I'm gonna keep on doing this
I
because
like
it's
to, yeah.
it's just a great way to share. Like, this is just a great topic of something that we both have that comes in our mind all the time. Is when you're, whether you have been financially stable or not in your life, and now you're not. That is a constant thought that's in your head. Like what your parents are thinking, like we talked about earlier, the way that you interact when you're with jobs experiences, your traumatic experience you had before of feeling that you're not good enough for this. There's so many emotions and feelings that come with it. We just, a lot of people just don't talk about. I don't talk about it to most people.
Yeah, I mean that's the reason we're here is to kind of like open up and talk about it. I wonder how people are able to internalize all these feelings because like I have to kind of like talk about it. I have to get it all out. I have to kind of like just like word vomit all of it. Um
You're facing it. You're facing it's facing the truth, like it's facing the reality.
oh, this joint is like
This one
gonna
tastes like lemongrass, so it kind of bites my tongue a little.
it's cool.
Yeah.
Lemongrass. I like the smell of like lemongrass essential oil. I used to make a body oil that was lemongrass and mint. The two go together really good. It's like really bright and uplifting. I used to call it sunrise.
Yeah, actually, like adding incense oils, I like to burn incense sticks, sage. Surprisingly, like smells are actually great ways of uplifting your mood. Like there's different
Yeah.
scents that you can use, and some of them are actually not that expensive. Like you could just get them in the store.
Uh, I feel a lot better after doing my interview today. Like I feel good that it's like over with. I finally feel like I can like relax and be myself for like a day and a half. I did my tests and my homework and schoolwork and stuff last night. And I still
Podcast
have like
shit is done. Going out
you're what?
tomorrow. Podcast shit is done. It's going out tomorrow. It's very exciting.
You're gonna go out tomorrow?
I
Your cat?
finished. No, I finished this shit for the podcast. It's coming out tomorrow.
You're being productive. You're getting things finished. Yeah.
I need to grab water. You keep talking.
Oh no, you're gonna leave me alone. Oh, here I am on the podcast without David. Yeah, I went to a job interview today. It was I got there at like 3:15 because that's the time that my interview was. And then they had me
See, that
wait.
wasn't that long.
They
Told
said that
you.
I would wait till 5 o'clock. I told you that, right? Like I got to the job interview and I was like 10 minutes early. And I
And they
just kind of
told you that
like
they were like, well, you're going to have to wait an hour, honey. We're sorry, but not
two
sorry.
an hour and 45 minutes. They were like it was like 3:15 and they were like, "Oh, can you wait till 5?"
Jesus.
They didn't ask me if I could wait till 5. They just said they wouldn't have anyone to interview me till 5.
Then why did they have you come in at 3?
Okay, listen to this. At the beginning, the place is like crowded with people, okay? And there's like, no one can even take time to like recognize that I'm there for an interview. Everything's like,
Moving.
chaotic,
It's a
like,
restaurant. Yeah,
and
go
I don't want
on.
to interrupt anybody, but like I like stood there and like looked over the menu and like, whatever else. And then I was like, this place, like, and I like went around and like straightened up like all the chairs. Like I like pushed in like all the chairs and like straightened them up and stuff and like picked up all the trash off the ground and like went and threw it away. And I don't know if they'll ever even notice or see it or anything, but I was like, if I'm gonna work here, like this place could use a hand. Like I was like, oh my god, like it looks kind of messy at the moment,
Can
And
you
like
can you
I like straightened it up. Like it like looked better. And I was like, oh, did anybody see that? Did anybody see that I cleaned up the lobby?
Can
Like
you imagine? Can you imagine like Karen coming in there prior and being like, "Okay, all right, the service here is subpar. Okay, there's trash on the table and the chairs were on an angle. That's right. We sat down and the chairs were at an angle. They were not correctly straight. Hence the reasons that
No,
Chris should
I
take.
mean like all the chairs weren't like pushed in. You know what I
I
mean?
had to make
Like
the story sound interesting. Wouldn't sound interesting if I said the chairs were just outwards. It sounds better if they're angled, because that's just weird. Why are they on an angle? You know?
okay, during my interview I was like, well, I have a lot of restaurant experience. Like I've been through a lot of training.
Right?
Like I've been through training at multiple different restaurants. Like I know tons of information and I like store information in my mind like a weird encyclopedia. So like I could recite like all kinds of things to you about like how you're supposed to like, take care of people who are like in your restaurant. And he was like, "Oh." And I was like, I mean, I have a lot of experience. I've worked behind a cash register for like like a combination of like 10 years, like if you really like put it all together. And he was like, "Oh." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I worked at Cheesecake Factory for 2 years. I worked at Walgreens for 2 years. I worked at Ulta for 2 years, and I've had my job now since 2020. And I'm always checking people out on a daily basis. So like I basically have like 14 years of experience. Like if you really want to put it all
Oh
together."
boy. Oh
Yeah.
boy.
I'm like,
Chris is
so, and
coming prepared, ladies and gents.
and he just like moved right past it. Like he's like, "So you're experienced." And it's interesting how like that's not important.
Nope. Nope. It's so weird because restaurant culture is like another level of I remember I had an interview. Okay. Do you mind me telling a story?
I mean, I don't have 14 years of restaurant experience, but I have 14 years of experience.
Okay, cool. So I was working in this factory when I was living in Israel. Um,
Are you okay?
and I got fired from that job and I applied around and I had this place that called me up. And this guy named Jack answered the phone and he says, "Hey, we're looking for somebody." And he brought me in. And I remember we were sitting down for the interview. It was raining that day. And we were in this glass sealed like patio. So they had like glass that sealed the whole area, so it was encased. And I remember we were sitting down, and he asked me like in-depth questions. Okay, I was sweating. I was
What did he
so
say? I hate
okay.
that.
One of the questions he asked me, and I'll never forget this. He says to me, "What exactly has inspired you to cook? Like, what has inspired you to cook?" And I was like, "Holy fuck! What inspired me to cook? What kind of question is that?" And I'm like,
I'm like, well, I had to pick a job, so I picked the one that I liked the most. Like,
right.
fuck off.
And the thing that just came out of my mouth was like, "My dad." And he was like, "Your dad what?" I was like,
Your dad what? That's
"You
always bad when they ask you to complete your thought.
complete your sentence." And I was like, well, my dad used to cook when I was a kid, and I was hanging around in the kitchen, and like just adding words so I could complete a sentence. And I left that day. I remember I was like, I'm not getting this job. They're never calling me. Sure enough, they called me. I got hired. 7 months later, they fired me and they moved me over somewhere else. But anyway, it was completely the opposite. Like, I mean, you had like they were just like experience.
They don't care. Like, it was so weird. Like, when I talked to him, he doesn't seem to really like.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, they didn't really ask me the interesting questions. I was thinking about how, like, when I got hired at Sugared and Bronze, they asked me if you could see any musical artist dead or alive in concert, who would it be? That was an interview question. And I said that I would see Elton John. And that was before Elton John's final tour.
And his
Um,
$500 basic fare tickets.
when I got hired at Hollister, they asked me if you could be any kitchen utensil, what kitchen utensil would you be?
A ladle.
And why? You know, like if you were any kitchen utensil, what would you be and why? You were supposed to relate yourself to a kitchen utensil and
Well,
why.
I would be a ladle because I like soup, and I'd be able to pour myself my own soup.
Okay. You'd be a ladle.
I'll be a ladle.
I think that like ladle is like the first thing that like comes to mind. I think I said like a spatula or
Remember
something.
this? Yeah, you said spatula.
I
It
don't
was
know.
spatula. I don't remember the explanation you gave, but I remember it was
Or
like
like I tongs. I mean like a kitchen knife is a good one.
you get to cut
Um
things. Cut,
do
cut,
paper
cut.
towels count? He said utensil. So I'm like utensils. I don't know. It's a
Butter
fun
knife,
one.
can
Yeah.
opener, strainer.
I had told you like the actual like questions would be things like tell me about a time that there was like a challenge that you had to overcome at your most previous job.
I always have to make up some bullshit. I usually have a script pre-planned. I'm not joking. I have
You
a
pre-plan
script.
your script.
Yeah.
Good. I don't. I'll just like be like, you know, like sometimes the girls like at work like things get behind and then the customers are like upset that they're waiting. So I think that the best thing to do is to make sure that the customer knows that we're aware of it and that, you know, listen to them, never argue with them, show that you're, you know,
don't tell
understanding of them
don't tell them
waiting.
that they're a son of a bitch or a piece of shit, or they can go fuck themselves. You could think of that in your head, in your mind, but don't say that out loud.
So yeah, like the best way to handle it is to like, you know, be calm in the situation, let them know that you understand what they're
But be
going through.
furious inside, like, fuck this piece of shit motherfucker. Yeah, go on.
Just Karen.
Yes, it's fucking Karen. Oh god, Karen's. I found out I think it was yesterday. I found out that there are male Karens, so be on the lookout.
There most certainly are. Yeah, for sure. A lot of guys can be really big complainers. I've
Oh
most
boy,
certainly seen that
oh
before.
boy. Yeah, I have. I've seen that on many counts of it. You know what I always found to be so funny is this. I'm in an elevator and there's this lawyer and he's on this phone and like this guy drives a Mercedes S class. I know this because I've seen his car down in the parking lot. All right. This guy has a lot of money. And he's screaming at his client. He's screaming at his client. And he's like, we got to get this done. We got to get this done now. And I'm thinking to myself, here you have a man that probably makes like $400,000 a year. And he gets to fucking scream at his clients and makes $400,000 a year. That is fucking amazing. You get to be a fucking bitch to your clients and
I don't know. I wouldn't want to be a bitch to my clients. I would
well,
hate that.
I assume he's a really good lawyer because you know
Good.
the S class, the Armani suit. I mean, there's obvious signs that
Speaking
he's
of
not.
lawyers,
Yes.
did I tell you about that dream that I had where I was like married to Johnny Depp?
Were you really?
I had a dream recently where I was like married to like I had like a nightmare where I was Amber Heard basically. And I was like trapped in a shitty marriage with an alcoholic Johnny Depp. And it was like he was like really really drunk and like always mad at me and we were like always fighting and it was just really really terrible and we like lived in Hollywood and we had a ton of money and we were just like always arguing and hanging up on each other and he was like always like really drunk and he was like, were you at the Chateau Marmont last night? And I was like, no, that was you. I'm sorry, did you watch the Johnny Depp trials? They were insane.
You drank
And
you drank a plenty of rum that night before. Mm.
I just feel like I I feel like the Johnny Depp trial his whole thing like really like got into my subconscious. It scared me. Like their like level of toxicity between each other was like kind of like haunting. Like it was like weird to see it happen between those
It got
two
embedded.
people.
It got
It
embedded.
it's a fear that's like in my mind and it's like some type of like I've started to use it as some like representation of like California and like how like California gets like really out of control, you know, those like celebrity relationships and when they turn like insane, like I feel like my mind has now connected that with like how challenging just California is in general. And so like it's almost like now drunk Johnny Depp is like a representation of California. And I'm like stuck in this relationship
Mm,
with California.
well, Gavin Newsom is the face of California, and his
But in my
multi
dreams,
in
it's
your
drunk.
dreams is drunk Johnny Depp. Yes, it's so elaborate. I mean, congrats on this insane dream, might I add. The added details and effects, and the fact you chose such an interesting character as Johnny Depp. I
The
mean,
thing
maybe
is that he hates me. Like
I don't think I think Johnny Depp likes one person and one person only.
himself. Does he like himself? I don't know.
I've never met him. I can't. I mean, we can
He's
ask him.
he scares me kind of. You know, and I think also like Johnny Depp continues to be a representation of California in my subconscious because like I used to like him a whole lot and think
He's
that
not
he
even
was
from
like
California.
no he's not. He's from like Boise, Idaho or some bullshit,
No, I
right?
think he's from I think
Kentucky.
Kentucky or Tennessee.
He's a Kentucky boy.
I mean, he looks southern.
Does he?
Anyway, yeah.
Oh, I don't know, but yeah, that dream was pretty intense. Didn't you say, oh, you had a dream about a house?
Yes, I did, and I was designing it in Sims 4.
Yeah, you've been
Um,
designing the house that your dream house.
yeah, I have goals in my life. Like I have a goal by the age of 30 be financially stable. Um, I have goals with this podcast and goals with my career. The thing is that like I've always set out to do things. Usually they don't always go as planned, but usually like I'm fine. I figure it out. I don't know. It just happens. It's weird. But it happened with a lot of things, like me moving down here to Florida, me moving out of Israel and coming back to the States.
You made the best out of you moving to Florida. You know, you made the best of it. And that's why it turned out as good as it has, because you've made the best of it.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah, you got your school. Did I tell you that I applied for a job to be an esthetician teacher? Like at like the Paul Mitchell school?
Ooh,
Yeah.
hope you
So
get it.
I sent in an application and like a cover letter and everything, like to be like an esthetician teacher at the Paul Mitchell school. And like when I looked at the job post, it said that they pay like $17 an hour. Can you believe that? That can't be.
It's Paul Mitchell.
Like what? Like not even like 20? Like you're paying a teacher at a school like the same as you'd pay like it's a minimum wage job to be a teacher at a cosmetology school. Is it?
I haven't applied to any of these positions yet. So I don't know how to precisely comment on the exact amount you'd making an hour, but that does.
I just want to know, like, what do you think about that? Isn't that crazy?
I mean, it
Like,
is. I mean, I would think probably like $20 an hour, maybe
it's
22.
something good or like better than that. Like, I mean, you just did beauty school. Like, can you believe that like your teacher would only make $17 an hour? I can't.
Well, I found out recently that teachers don't actually get paid in the summer.
Well, they can. It depends on like I mean they don't. No. My mother was a teacher and like basically she would have her paycheck or like her salary like averaged out so that she still got the same paychecks over the summer months. So they kind of like even it out so you're paid year round, but you're not making any money like technically, you know what I mean? Like during the summer. So like they just take your whole income and spread it out across the whole year.
Which is crazy, might I add.
It's only 3
I
months.
know. It's kind of nice that
It
you get a 3 month break every year.
I bet people still like go work, but yeah, my mom was home every summer. It was always really nice. When I was in high school, it was kind of like, oh shit, like mom's around like all day. Like I can't like do whatever I want to do
No,
anymore.
you can't bring over, Josh or Steve or Ned.
It was
Like,
different. She like had an eye on me, you know,
right?
like she knew what I was doing because she wasn't at work. It was a
She
little different.
she could like spot the window, like she had like a flashlight like ready, for the guy that's like climbing up to go into your window, and she's like just like pulls out of the like the porch, like flashes a light. I got you.
I never had anybody come through a window.
I
That's
know,
hilarious.
I know, but for dramatic effects, honey, we need to add this. We need to add details,
No,
elements.
it is good. All good memories. You know, good stuff. Good stuff. I like your t-shirt.
Oh, thank you. I think it says like good vibes or something on the back. I don't know. I paid like $4
Ooh.
for this.
Did you see you remember that record store that we went to? Did you see that they had like a line that was like all the way like down around the block and like people like showed up and like this one dude like slept outside. Like, what was going on there?
I don't
It was
know.
like there was like a premiere for like a movie or something, but it wasn't a movie premiere. I don't know. I should have read like the whole entire description, but there was like an event that happened at that record store that we like, and people were waiting for hours outside for it.
Salty dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an avid uh bleh, vinyl collector, and it is something so great, like it's physical music and in hand. The thing is, and what I'm going to end off with this, not being financially stable is not great, but being able to deal with the to be able to deal with situations that you have at hand, and like realize that in life a lot of situations are just temporary and things will constantly be changing, and you don't know what's going to happen from day to day sometimes. So yeah, but anyway, this has been American Groove, and we've talked an hour all about financial stability. Ooh, very exciting. I am your host, Dave.
And this is your other host, Carissa. Thank you for listening, guys. Hope to hear you next week.
Yes, and please, if you like what you hear, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you're a fan of Carissa as much as we all are, she is a fully licensed esthetician, makeup artist, candle maker, and pug lover. You can find her on Instagram at Carissa the Beautiful. And we are all over the socials. That's right, we are on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Lost in the Groove Pod. So be sure to check out more. Hey, catch you on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.